Welcome back to my Berserk series, where I'll be dissecting the characters' themes and symbols in Kentaro Miura's magnum opus. If you haven't watched the first video, and or haven't read Berserk, please do both, then come back. Let's recap where we left off on the last video, shall we? Guts has just overheard Griffith's talk with the princess, and was sent down an emotional spiral. He's pretty disturbed about the whole thing and feels he's lost a close friend in a way. Griffith cuts Guts deeply with his speech, and in their next battle, we see Guts still shaken up by the emotional betrayal. But before we go any further, we need to take some time to properly introduce the third character of our main trio, Casca. Casca is a member of the Band of the Hawk, and a trusted one at that. Before Guts came along, she was Griffith's right-hand man, and now Guts takes the slot. Anyway, she went into the battle while a little under the weather, and she ends up needing to be saved by Guts, and they end up falling down a cliff and into a river. Casca has a high fever, it's raining hard, and she's unconscious, so Guts finds a cave for them to stay the night in, and he staves off her fever by taking off her wet clothes and using his body heat to keep her warm. A touching moment, and a far cry from the Guts scene in the Black Swordsman arc. When she awakes, Guts finally asks her why Casca, as a woman, would choose to live a life as tough as this. Now, this part of Casca's character is something I'd like to save for discussion in her own video, or videos, so just know that this whole part with Guts and Casca really just further cements Guts' view of Griffith as some kind of deity and alienates him further as a friend. But more importantly, this marks an important moment for Guts as a human. It's the first time in his life that he put his own feelings aside for the greater good, and without hesitation, I might add, Guts is fully committed to the betterment of the Hawk. If Casca dies, they would be without a strong fighter, and worse still, a strong leader. Guts has matured greatly with his time spent in the Hawks. They've given him a purpose, friends, and good fights. But now they've got to get back to the group since Casca can walk again. Yet, of course, on their way back through the forest, they get ambushed, and by over 100 men no less. Casca manages to clear out a few of them, but Guts recognizes she's in no condition to fight. So he tells her to just run, and he'll fight off the rest. It's a tough fight, and he takes a lot of hard hits, eventually having to fight with only one hand. But this is Guts we're talking about. He'll be used to fighting with one hand soon enough. Next, I think, is the most important moment in Guts' life up until this point, the Campfire Dreams chapter. This is the moment the Guts song was written for. Playing this song while reading the chapter just feels right. The vocals, the piano, the colors the music evokes, lights the chapter in a way that gives me goosebumps. It's the perfect song to accompany the moment. This is why you read Berserk, people, for moments like this. Emotionally, this chapter doesn't hit super hard, but it marks a big moment for Guts. Here, let me show you. We open up to Guts sitting atop a hill overlooking the camp, as he likes to do, when Casca arrives with some medicine. Guts reassures her that she shouldn't worry about his wounds, since he didn't fight all of those guys for her. In fact, he's not really sure why he fought those guys. He just knows he didn't do it for her. He knows it felt right in that moment, when it was just him, his sword, and whoever his sword was going through. Casca lays it to him straight, asking he fought over 100 men for no other reason than it's his nature. Yeah, it's as simple as that. But that's just what's bugging him. After hearing Casca and Griffith's ambition and dreams, hearing the passion behind why they fight, Guts feels insignificant. He's just gained the title 100-Man Killer, a name that should give him great pride, a sense of accomplishment for years to come, but no. That's the last thing on his mind. Here he sits atop a hill overlooking the camp, thinking how it does not matter whether he slaughtered 100 or even 1,000 men at a time, for he's not doing it for any other reason than he can. He's a man without a dream. Guts believes what Griffith believes, that to fight without a cause will never be as meaningful than to fight to protect your dream. He looks out upon the camp, seeing the bonfires, each representing a dream, something that people are willing to lay their lives upon. But his flame ain't here. Maybe everyone here, no matter how dim their light, can cast themselves into the inferno of Griffith. But Guts has no flame, at least not here. He's just here to warm up by the fire for a bit. He's got to find his own dream. He's got to find a better reason to fight than for Griffith, or it's his nature. Guts, at this point, is uncertain. He's not sure how to feel about Casca, unsure about Griffith, and completely in the dark about himself. It's much like someone who tries out a major in college and decides it's not for them. They dropped the major, but now they don't know what they want to do with their life. They've managed to figure out what they don't want to do, but they haven't figured out what they do want to do. Guts is in a similar position. He's not sure what he wants to fight for. He just knows that he doesn't want to fight for Griffith. The manga has this really great line in it, where Guts says he's always tried to leave the most essential reason for fighting up to other people. But now, he's not satisfied with that. He needs the reason to come from himself. Cut to the assault on Doldry Castle, which has kept the Midland Army from winning this war for over 100 years. Countless factions of the Midland Army have been thrown its way only to be shot down, but the Band of the Hawk alone shall suffice in taking it down. Thanks to Griffith's brilliant tactics and some divine intervention from Zod, they win the battle over Doldry, and thus single-handedly win the war for Midland. When they return to the kingdom, they're hailed as heroes, something nobody could have imagined. Nobody except Griffith. The king holds a ball in their honor and announces the Band of the Hawk is hereby promoted to the White Phoenix Knights. They're nobles. Griffith is halfway there, halfway to his own kingdom. And now, a toast. Yes, it appears as though not everyone in Midland is happy with the idea of common mercenaries becoming nobles, the Queen especially. But we all know Griffith is always one step ahead. He planned it from the very start. He and Guts kill the Queen and everyone involved in her assassination. It's a win-win for everyone, and Griffith is now in the best position of his life. All he has to do is gradually get close with the princess, marry into royalty, and his dream will be a reality. He'll have done what no other man could have ever come close to attempting. He will have gone from nothing to everything. But there's going to be one small hitch in that plan. How did we get here? Well, explaining why Guts leaves the Hawks is a pretty deeply layered thing, but it really boils down to this. Guts can't be his own person with Griffith lingering above him. Unlike Casca or the other members of the Hawk, Guts isn't satisfied with fighting for someone else's dream. Especially Griffith, who cannot even see Guts as a friend. It's almost comparable to as though Guts were following a religion he doesn't believe in. Guts puts it best himself when he says he's, quote, had enough of looking up at Griffith from inside his dream, end quote. Guts has accomplished a great many things since he's joined the Hawks, gaining the title of 100-man killer, taking down Doldry, but they have all been under the name and in the name of Griffith. He needs something he can win for himself. Despite becoming a noble, despite all of his friends, not to mention the woman he loves being with the Hawks, he leaves. If Guts cannot be Griffith's equal, he'll go and do his own thing. Next is another moonlit night of motivation. The main difference between this one and the last is Guts is really, truly alone. These past years have been kind to Guts. He's made a lot of friends and he can't help but be left to wonder if he's made a mistake. And I'd like to take a moment here to dissect these moonlit nights we see Guts have so frequently. Each instance of these marks an important moment in Guts' emotional journey and character arc. And every time we see a heavy emphasis put on the moon. The moon is present for almost every important moment in Guts' journey. But what does it mean? Well, in classic literature, the moon carries a lot of symbols with it, and all of them pertain to Guts. So, one interpretation is that the moon carries classical meaning to it, and represents Guts, a nocturnal, flawed, solitary figure. And if you were to have the sun represent Griffith, following real-world logic, the sun lights up the moon. Guts is lit up by Griffith, which in itself has multiple meanings. Guts only shines and can be seen thanks to Griffith. All of his achievements are only visible due to Griffith, the sun. And Guts later in the story only exists and has a presence thanks to Griffith. And I'll get to Griffith's symbolism as the sun in his own video, because it has more sick meanings behind it, and they pertain more to him. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, Sands on a horse. What's that? The eclipse? Struggler? Causality? What? Nah, that's probably nothing. I wouldn't worry about it. Cut to 1 year later. Guts is doing his thing, being strong and stuff, when he overhears someone call Casca the leader of the Hawks. Guts takes that as an excuse enough to take it all the way back to their camp, only to find shambles. Everyone who isn't sick or injured looks exhausted, and Griffith is nowhere to be found. He's been captured, deemed a traitor of Midland after sleeping with the princess, and has been left to rot with the torturer until he dies of old age. It seems Griffith, after Guts' departure, snapped. I'm afraid that here's where I'll have to call an end to this video. I can't go any further into Guts' story without first talking about Casca properly. For now is when their stories collide, setting all the pieces up so that we may knock them down. I'll take a quick break before dissecting Casca and go back to some gaming content. My intention for this channel is really a 50-50 split between video games and manga, which I know is two different niches, but it seems like people who like manga also like video games, so we'll see how it goes. I hope you enjoy these analyses and that you stick around for more of my stuff. I'd love to know if you like my stuff, so leave a comment and maybe we can discuss something I didn't point out. Until next time, drive safe, don't do drugs.